Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? It's Jeff. It's Thursday, so weekend is coming up here. I went down. This is gonna be crazy, but I went down to Applebee's to have something to eat for lunch, and went in there, and this guy was my waiter, and didn't have him for a waiter before. In fact, I think he's new there, but he came around and I was like, my God, he stinks. Jesus Christ. And when he started talking, I was like, holy shit, Christ, keep your mouth closed. Don't talk. He was a big guy, okay? But he was nice and everything, but I was like, oh, and even after he walked away and went into the kitchen, I could still smell him. I was like, it's a smell that lingers. I mean, I was like, holy Christ. Take a fucking bath, or do something. Jesus Christ. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And, and the thing is, I just, like I said, you couldn't get away from it, and I almost felt like not eating because it was that bad. I mean, it really was bad. I don't know what the hell. I mean, it was, it wasn't like armpits or anything like that. It was, more like bad breath mixed with body odor or something. I don't know. But this guy was like, oh, Jesus Christ. If you're going to be working as a waiter, you got to be clean, Christ, don't stink up the fucking place. I'm surprised, that, he was working like that because, ugh. Oh, Jesus, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. I'll tell you something else that reminds me of bad odor and bad breath. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, every time I see her face, that's what I think about. If I stood next to her, she would stink. B.O. and barbecue. So what Bill Paxton had said. B.O. and barbecue. She comes off as a smelly person. Like if you stood next to her, she would just reek, and her personality matches that perception, I think. Just yesterday, she lashed out at a reporter from Britain, got in her face like, I don't care what England thinks about us or anything like that. And she gave her the third degree, and that reporter was like, okay, just keep yakking, it's all going to be recorded, and people are going to see it. And I'm thinking, this is the pride of Georgia, right? This is, Georgia doesn't seem to have a problem with her, acting this way. I just don't understand why they don't. I mean, if somebody look, Paul LePage was a governor in this state, and we couldn't stand his fucking ass because of the same reason Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? He had a big mouth too. Maybe it wasn't quite as bad as her, but people in Maine did not like him, okay, because of the fact that he was a bully and he was a prick. All right, he tried to come back here once or twice to come back as governor, and both times, I mean, no, you get the hell out of here. But he's like a fucking pest. His name once in a while will pop up in the local papers around here. But nobody really cares to see his fucking face again, okay? And I feel like, if Georgia had any guts, they would do something to get rid of her. I know somebody said, well, she was challenged in her last election, and she had $9 million in her coffer where the opponent had $400,000 or $500,000. Well, certainly that's not going to help okay, if nobody's going to support the opposition, right? So, you know, where is the equal, you know, an opposite reaction to somebody like her? Okay, why were the Democrats not helping the other person out? That's what I want to know. Okay, why is it Republicans always seem to have endless amounts of money? I mean, what are they doing? They go into the Treasury and printing off bills right and left? I mean, what the hell are they doing? You know, I just feel like, look, you know, at some point people have to say, look, you know, she's been doing all this shit and we're getting sick of it. She's making us all look bad. Okay, she's got to go. At some point, the money factor shouldn't be a problem because the opinion of the state as a whole would be against her. So, you know, it wouldn't matter if she had $10 trillion in her account, she'd still lose. Okay? But, I don't know. It seems to me like Georgia just, you know, don't care. Well, there's this congresswoman who spent 11 minutes listing off all the fucking shit that Marjorie Taylor Greene has said over the years. And what they're doing is they're trying to get a bill passed to censure her. It's like, what? You waited all this time for that? You know, they should have censured her the first time she opened her mouth. Okay? She's a racist, vile bitch, okay? And they need to slap her down. I mean, if you can't get Donald Trump out of office, then you go after his minions and you get rid of them. Okay? That's what you do. You go after all his fucking limbs. So anyway, let's go to that video, and for 11 minutes, I want you to listen here to all the shit, and then you tell me at the end whether or not she deserves a censure, okay?
Hate speech against the LGBTQ community, Islamophobia, Asian hate, xenophobia, and other forms of hatred. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly debased the memories of thousands of victims of the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, by perpetuating conspiracy theories to shift blame and responsibility for mass murder. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly assaulted the foundation of our democracy by perpetuating conspiracy theories related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, which sought to halt the peaceful transfer of power. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly called for violence against elected officials and their families. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly espoused anti-Semitic rhetoric and conspiracy theories, including through inflammatory evocations of the Holocaust. Whereas on May 20th, 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that the mask mandate in the House of Representatives was akin to Jews being put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. Whereas on May 25th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, quote, vaccinated employees get a vaccination logo just like the Nazis forced Jewish people to wear a gold star. Whereas on February 26th, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene appeared at a white nationalist event that was condemned by the Republican Jewish coalition as, quote, appalling and outrageous that a member of Congress would share a platform with an individual who has actively spread anti-Semitic bile, mocked the Holocaust, and promoted dangerous anti-Israel conspiracy theories. Whereas on September 1st, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a tweet comparing President Joe Biden to Adolf Hitler that said, quote, Joe Biden is Hitler, hashtag Nazi Joe has to go, unquote. Whereas on September 1st, 2022, Marjorie Taylor Greene posted another tweet of a doctored video showing President Biden speaking with audio of Hitler, swastikas in the background, and a mustache akin to that of Hitler. Whereas on July 21st, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said that if she was, quote, in charge, she would kick out every single Chinese in this country that is loyal to the CCP. They would be gone. Whereas on December 19th, 2021, while at a Turning Point USA conference, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to Asian Americans as, quote, yellow people, a slur that has been historically used to malign the Asian American community in the United States. Whereas Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has a history of perpetuating LGBTQ hate speech, including through her use of offensive posters in the halls of congressional office buildings beginning on February 24th, 2021. Whereas on November 22nd, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted that an LGBTQ California state senator was, quote, a communist groomer, unquote, an offensive slur that has been used to stoke fear and incite hatred of LGBTQ Americans. Whereas on March 7th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene again referred to members of the LGBTQ community as, quote, groomers and spouted anti-trans rhetoric on the floor of the House of Representatives. Whereas on June 1st, 2023, the first day of Pride Month, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted a photo showing an anti-trans poster that she had displayed in the hall outside of her congressional office. Whereas on February 22nd, 2019, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a video on Facebook claiming that the Muslim American members of Congress were not, quote, really official because they didn't take the oath of office on the Bible. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene repeatedly engaged in Islamophobic rhetoric and suggested that Muslim Americans do not belong in the United States government. Whereas on May 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene yet again referred to fellow Muslim American members of Congress as, quote, the Jihad Squad. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to black Americans as, quote, slaves to the Democratic Party and said that they should be proud to see Confederate monuments. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico further reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene stated in a video, quote, I know a ton of white people that are as lazy and sorry and probably worse than black people, unquote. Whereas on May 18th, 2023, Marjorie Taylor Greene compared being called a white supremacist to a person of color being called the N-word, a vile racial slur. Whereas on January 28th, 2021, a video of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene resurfaced in which she used a harmful and offensive slur targeting Americans with disabilities with the National Down Syndrome Society called, quote, heartbreaking and unacceptable. Whereas on November 1st, 2018, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene denied the attacks on September 11th, saying there was, quote, a so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon, and, quote, it's odd that there's never been any evidence to show a plane at the Pentagon. Whereas on November 17th, 2018, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene peddled a vile anti-Semitic trope when she claimed that wildfires in California were caused by space lasers operated by members of the Jewish community. Whereas on August 17th, 2020, a video of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene resurfaced in which she stated that the mass shooting at the Country Music Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada, where 60 people were murdered, was perpetuated in order to pass anti-gun legislation. Whereas on January 19th, 2021, Media Matters published a screenshot of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene on Facebook, where she emphatically agreed that the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where 17 American students and teachers were murdered, was a false flag event. Whereas on January 21st, 2021, Media Matters published a screenshot on Facebook, a comment that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted that claimed 9/11 was, quote, done by our own government, to which she responded, that is all true. Whereas that same comment, liked and agreed to by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, further claimed that the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary, where 26 people, including 20 precious children, were murdered, was staged. Whereas on September 3rd, 2020, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted an image of herself holding a gun next to images of 3 members of Congress with a caption encouraging, quote, going on offense after them. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN reported on posts, comments, and likes by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from 2018 and 2019, in which Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene liked several posts and comments on Facebook demonstrating her support for the execution of several members of the Democratic Party, including the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and President Barack Obama. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN further reported that Marjorie Taylor Greene liked a Facebook comment on January 2019 that stated, quote, "A bullet to the head would be quicker," in reference to the removal of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN also reported that deleted videos showed Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the execution of Speaker Nancy Pelosi and stating that she was, quote, "a traitor to our country, that she's guilty of treason and should suffer death or she'll be in prison." Whereas Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has perpetuated the big lie related to the 2020 presidential election by espousing conspiracy theories and by threatening and inciting violence. Whereas on October 26, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene downplayed the actions of those who participated in the January 6th attack on the Capitol and said, quote, "If you think about what our Declaration of Independence says, it says to overthrow tyrants." Whereas on November 4th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene went to visit those incarcerated related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, in which she referred to them as, quote, "the Patriot wing of the D.C. jail." Whereas on November 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to those who participated in the January 6th attack on the Capitol as, quote, "political prisoners of war." Whereas on December 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said that if she had organized the January 6th attack on the Capitol, quote, "we would have won. Not to mention, we would have been armed." Whereas on July 19th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene displayed pornographic images during an official committee hearing that she claimed depicted a member of President Biden's family. Whereas on July 19th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene sent an official press release and posted to her official congressional website a public hearing commentary featuring pornographic images she claimed depicted a member of President Biden's family. Whereas members of Congress have promised to always have the back of Marjorie Taylor Greene, no matter the extent of her vile and hateful behavior, now therefore be it resolved that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene be censured. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene be censured with the public reading of this resolution.
Yeah, it's mind-numbing to say the least. But at the same time, it's time really to go on the offensive with her, because she's really, it's bad enough we got a president that doesn't give two shits about how the world thinks of him. But to have more of that attitude in Congress and the Senate and stuff like that with different people, you know, hey, enough is enough. All right, this is not the Muppet Show. All right, we can't just let people say whatever the hell they want with no punchback. People have to, you know, it's got to be civil. You know, a civil discussion requires civility. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she doesn't know anything about civility. I don't think she ever did. I don't think anybody in her life ever told her to shut her goddamn mouth when she started talking. I think people just gave her all kinds of freebies. Her parents probably spoiled her rotten, okay? And she grew up with this Karen bitch attitude, whatever you want to call it. And she wins an election by bringing that attitude, because that's, I guess, people in Georgia like that, when people are mouthy and racist and all that. You know, they bring her right into the government. This is our best. Well, I'd hate to see the worst. You know, I really would hate to see the worst. If that's your best, I'd hate to see the worst. You know, you guys really, you know, and down in Georgia, you really need to do something about this, okay? It's getting ridiculous. You know, she's not even seriously doing her job. She spends all the time, you know, making gaffes when she's trying to question people, and she fucks up her facts. Okay, so she's not that intelligent. She's not prepared. at any given time to meet reporters. I mean, that's the reason why she blew up at that reporter yesterday, is because she was being asked a question she didn't want to be bothered with. She didn't want to answer it, okay? Because she didn't have a good answer. So she does like Trump. Oh, you're fake news. Get the hell out of here. Okay, that's what she's doing, you know. And if the president does it, I guess people think it's okay if she does it. Well, it's not okay if the president doesn't. It doesn't, and it's not okay that she does it. That's wrong. That's wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. All right. So the fact that after all these years, they're talking about censuring her, I don't know if it would even mean anything to her. Okay, she would just play the victim or some damn thing, and you know, she might even get away from it unscathed. Okay, which really shows how inept our system is, you know, in government, that people that are so unhinged seem to have a better grasp on keeping power than someone who's sane. You know, our system of government is being put to the test like it's never been in history. Okay, it's never been put to the test. Everything that we thought we had, the dams, the borders, all that stuff that we thought we had in place to keep everything in our government working honestly, it's all being busted up and seen. Oh, there is no border here for that. You know, we can't stop him from doing this. We can't, you know, because no one ever conceived of a president who would be like this, okay? This was the short-sightedness of our founding fathers who created the Constitution and didn't really put enough things in place to protect our democracy. Okay, this is what's happened here, because everybody assumes that if you're a president, you're, you know, intelligent, you're honest, you got qualities that that everyone strives to have. No one ever thought, you know, oh, one day we're going to have a guy who's a criminal already and a failed businessman, and he's going to take over the White House, and he's going to use the executive order ability as a bludgeon, as a dictator, to get what he wants. He's going to circumvent the courts. He's going to circumvent Congress and the Senate. He's going to do what he wants, and no one's going to be able to stop him because there's nothing here in place to do it. Well, you see, that's the problem, is that we never thought of that. And the minute, you know, I think sometimes if people try to put guardrails up, the other side's like, no, no, no. Okay, president shouldn't have that kind of power. Okay, it's crazy. But the nightmare that the Republicans for generations have always worried about, your government taking your guns, that's coming under the Republican administration. Okay, because what do you think's going to happen when they stop people from protesting or doing stuff like that? They're also going to go after people that are armed. They're going to take your guns away because, hey, we're not going to have, you know, violent protests erupt in this country. You know, doesn't that make sense? I mean, if they don't want the press saying anything, if they don't want the people saying anything, they don't want no protests against the president, then the next thing is going to be removal of people's weapons. This is the very thing you guys sit here and blame Democrats for doing. It's you guys that's going to do it. You guys are going to be the ones that's going to pull that shit. You know, the Democrats, with all your hype about them taking your gun, never did anything like that. Never. They never fucking, what we tried to do was regulate it a little better to keep it out of the hands of criminals, but we never, ever, you know, sent anybody out to go get your guns. That never was going to happen. You guys never understood that because the right-wing propaganda made you think that the Democrats were the bad guy. Okay? You guys fell for that fucking bullshit hook, line, and sinker. Now, the Republicans are in power. They don't want to give it up. They don't want to give it up. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to make damn sure nobody can stop them. And that means rounding up all the guns. That's going to come. You watch. And when it does, what are you guys going to do then? Who are you going to blame then? I know you guys have been pretty quiet up to you know, lately here about that goddamn Signal chat thing that went on, and all this, you know, combat, you know, war planning that got leaked out. You guys went after Hillary Clinton, lock her up, you know, for texts that she got. But you guys have been really quiet about this. You haven't said a damn thing about that. That's really telling. That's really telling, you know, and I don't know what that means, whether you guys are like caught, like deer caught in a headlight or something. I don't know what it means. Maybe it means you guys have been stunned, that you thought you knew this guy and now you're finding out you didn't, that you could say he hoodwinked you, but he didn't, because everything he's doing, he said he was gonna do. All right. And that Project 2025 manifesto that I told you people to read, you didn't read it, did you? I bet none of you did. But the fact is, everything that's in there is what's happening as we speak. Okay? So you can't say nobody warned you. You knew. You just didn't want to believe it. You didn't want to hear it. Your thoughts about Donald Trump are, you've elevated him so high that you guys think he can't be fucking bad. He can't be bad. You know, you guys put all your eggs in the wrong basket, so to speak, okay? You put all your eggs in the wrong basket. Not that it really is funny, but the problem is now people are suffering. Some Republicans too. So are you going to abandon them? Or are you going to stand up and fight with the rest of us to oppose Trump at every opportunity? Because really, you know, unopposed, he's going to do all kinds of shit to you, to us, all of us. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
You're so cooked. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. It's not funny. Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic just put out an article saying that U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the started falling. Jeffrey goes on to say in the article, I, however, knew 2 hours before the first exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, God help us, had texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapons packages, targets, and timing. Jeffrey, this is what happens when you drink and text, Peter Hegseth. J.D. Vance writes to Pete Hegseth, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Did you thank us? Let's just make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. Save the oil! Pete Hegseth responds, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. No, you guys are. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is as good a time as any, given POTUS directive to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go, but POTUS still retains 24 hours of decision space. What I love is the name of the chat, Houthi PC Small Group. Small indeed.
I guess this is after it all went down. Excellent. Good start. Fist emoji, American flag, flame. Good job, Pete, and your team. The team in Mal did a great job as well. Good work, all. Powerful start. It's the emojis for me. Now, I can actually kind of relate to how embarrassing this is. I once devastatingly blew a surprise party after I texted the details into the group chat that included the birthday girl. Till this day, that shit still keeps me up at night. But at least mine wasn't a full-blown national security risk. And I fully expect conservatives who were all but her emails, all the lock her up chants, to bring that same fire and fury for the but text messages. They won't. But I guess it's good to see how all this, merit-based hiring is going for the Trump administration. Can't even double check the group chat. Anyways, bye!
Hello, Daniel Caldwell. This is the VA Crisis Response Hotline. We're calling to inform you that your emergency request for in-person counseling for PTSD has been denied. To stop fraud, waste, and abuse, these services will be replaced by VetCare AI, powered by Grok, an X company. President Trump and Doge Chairman Musk, thank you for your service and being part of our efforts to eliminate waste. Have a nice day. Press 1 to repeat this message. Press 2 to return to main menu. Press 3 to leave a message, and an AI operator will call you back if your problem is deemed unwasteful. Goodbye.
Feeling my husband with 8 inches was like reliving our first time. Thanks to the salt trick, he makes me gush like a broken pipe. And just last month, I was ready to divorce my husband. But then he showed me his new 8-inch magic wand. Now, I can barely hold it in my hand. This salt trick is hands down the biggest advantage any man can have heading into 2025. I wasn't kidding when I said you should take it easy with this trick. It can turn a sad little twig into a raging anaconda. It's ridiculously simple. And it's heartbreaking to see so many men missing out on the chance to finally make their women happy. So far, this easy homemade trick has helped over 29,000 men naturally increase both size and thickness. This is the same secret top-paid adult film actors use to keep their bats way above average. It's also how they manage to handle 3, 4, or even 5 women in a row without losing their stamina. The best part? It works for men of all ages, takes just 30 seconds before bed, and can give you some incredible results in no time. If you want to skip the details and go straight to the video, just click the Watch Now button below to learn how to pull off this simple but powerful trick tonight. You should probably watch it alone, if you know what I mean. Don't waste any more time. Watch it before it gets taken down or you can't find this video anymore. Your wife or girlfriend will thank you for the rest of her life.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, the second video I have here comes from the Humanist Report, and they're going to talk about how Trump's DOJ argues that the president has near dictatorial power. Okay, and he's going to lay out exactly what that means. So let's go to that video here. We'll talk about that on the other side.
The constitutional crisis that we're all currently living through is escalating, according to some legal experts, because of the claims that Trump's Department of Justice is making in courts to defend their defiance of judges. So to get you up to speed, Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 a couple of weeks ago to deport hundreds of Venezuelan immigrants to a prison in El Salvador. Now, this archaic law, in theory, is only supposed to be used during times of war. And we're not at war, but in order to activate his authority under this law, Trump lied and said that we're at war with the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which is a stretch since there's just 300 or so of them in the country. Nonetheless, that's what he did. And since he claims we're at war, well, it's appropriate, therefore, to cite that particular law as a justification for these particular expulsions of quote-unquote gang members. Now, come to find out, many of the 200-plus people that he deported without due process were not gang members. One of them was a gay makeup artist who had a tattoo that they assumed was gang-related when it wasn't. Another was a legal refugee that passed a full background check who was also profiled because of his tattoos. And another was a professional soccer player who was legally seeking asylum in America after he was tortured by the Maduro regime. But putting aside that fact for a moment, a district court judge named James Boasberg blocked their deportations, but the White House defied him, saying that they didn't have to comply with his directive since the plane was already in the sky when he made that order. Now, since this happened, Republicans have waged an all-out war against this judge. Trump attacked him on Truth Social and called for him to be impeached, leading to a rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts, whose court, by the way, granted this guy near absolute immunity not that long ago. Furthermore, Republican senators like Josh Hawley and Mike Lee announced legislation to prohibit judges altogether from issuing nationwide injunctions, and Speaker Mike Johnson even floated the idea of eliminating federal courts altogether, which is something that hasn't been done since 1982. So they're willing to take extreme steps to ensure that Trump has no checks on his authority. And in courts, the Department of Justice is now arguing that Trump basically does have unlimited power, and he doesn't have to comply with judges at all. As Dahlia Lithwick and Mark Joseph Stern explains, on Monday, Donald Trump's Department of Justice made two arguments in two different courts that, taken together, amount to a legal claim of near dictatorial power by Trump. First, it informed a federal appeals court that the president has the authority to declare any non-citizens to be alien enemies and to deport them to a foreign prison where they will be forced to perform hard labor indefinitely without notice, a hearing, or any meaningful opportunity to prove their innocence. Second, it refused to provide U.S. District Judge James Boasberg with details of these mass deportation operations, even in the closed courtroom, even under seal, insisting that Boasberg's authority must yield to the, quote, mandate of the electorate. In other words, Trump's electoral victory grants him an absolute right to conduct these deportations, rendering them unreviewable by the judiciary. This is insane. This is not a constitutional argument, and it barely pretends to be. It is more akin to an argument from an archaic notion of the divine rights of kings. Trump is our ruler, it holds, such that anything he does is intrinsically lawful. In a constitutional democracy, of course, the president is not a sovereign whose authority is above question or limitation. Even the most extreme versions of presidential powers have limits of some kind, but this administration is relentlessly pushing a theory of executive power to dangerous new extremes, smearing lower courts that stand in its way. So understand that they're not even trying to make a legal or constitutional argument for this power that they're saying Trump supposedly has. They're basically saying, well, he won the election, so he can do what he wants. Deal with it. And it's not necessarily surprising, since Trump himself tweeted about how he who saves his country isn't violating any laws or something like that. And also, the official White House Twitter account literally tweeted an image of him wearing a crown and calling him a king. So none of this is surprising, but this is them in court under oath saying, yeah, we're not just memeing, we're not just shitposting, we're saying he basically is a king for all intents and purposes. And since he thinks he's a king, of course, that also means that he doesn't have to follow the rule of law and he doesn't have to obey judges. That is very, very serious. Now, he's not following the rule of law, and they haven't been giving people due process, in particular with regard to these deportations. And the border czar, Tom Homan, basically admitted on national television, yeah, we don't think that these immigrants have due process rights.
What we've heard from lawyers representing some of these people is that they deny that they're members of this gang. Or either, Tren de Aragua or MS-13. Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Look, due process. Where's Lake and Ronnie's due process?
In other words, no, they don't have due process. And I get that this administration is throwing a lot of shit at us, so it's difficult to keep track of every little thing that they do, but this is extremely serious. Like, for them to say that on national television and to argue in court that they don't have to give these people due process, that is significant. If you don't have due process, you cannot have a functioning legal system. The entire purpose of courts is to give the accused the ability to defend themselves in court, and without that, the entire legal system cannot exist. It is the bottom Jenga block that when you pull it out, the entire tower comes tumbling down. And to demonstrate how important due process is, this country even gave Nazis due process. And one judge made that point during one of these hearings. Lithwick and Stern continue. During oral arguments under questioning from Judge Patricia Millett, the full scope of the Justice Department's arguments grew chillingly clear. Drew Ensign, the mid-level DOJ attorney leading this case, insisted that the administration had complied with the Constitution when it accused over 200 migrants of gang membership and expelled them to an El Salvador prison in a matter of hours with no opportunity to contest their guilt or removal. Millett sounded shocked. Quote, "There were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify people," she told Ensign. "Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act." She's right. Although the chief Supreme Court precedent cited by the government in support of its position allowed for the removal of Germans during and after World War II, those individuals received a hearing at which the government had to show that they were in fact Nazis. The Venezuelan migrants subject to Trump's order, by contrast, received nothing of the sort. Quote, "If the government says we don't have to give process for that," Millett continued, "y'all could have picked me up on Saturday and thrown me on a plane thinking I'm a member of Tren de Aragua and given me no chance to protest it." Ensign had no good answer except to insist that each migrant once targeted for removal could somehow have filed individual objections in the hours before they were expelled to El Salvador. But at that point, according to the government, they have no further recourse in court. As Millett pointed out, it is absurd to imagine that these migrants, many of whom do not speak English, could hire a lawyer and file a petition in that fleeting period of time, let alone secure a hearing. And she's right. The time between Trump signing the Alien Enemies Act executive order and deporting these folks was hours. So how exactly were they supposed to defend themselves? The fact that they're making this claim is laughable, and they're not really even trying to make a good argument because, again, they don't think that they have to, since Trump basically has near dictatorial powers. So this is them just putting up the window dressing to make it seem as if they're following the Constitution, when in actuality they're not. They're trying to make it seem as if they're still complying with the rule of the law, so that way the public doesn't freak out about this constitutional crisis that they created, but they are not following the rule of law. And if you look at authoritarian regimes around the world, a lack of due process is the hallmark of their flawed legal systems. Them not having to prove charges against people in courts gives the state basically a blank check to round up anyone for virtually any reason. I mean, at best, it leads to innocent people being detained arbitrarily for something that they didn't do. But at worst, it leads to critics of the regime being charged with random crimes and locked up because they criticized the government. This is actual dictator shit, and the fact that this administration is making this argument in court with its full chest is a very, very bad sign of what's to come. Their goal is to either turn the court system into a rubber stamp for this administration's abuses or just bypass it altogether. And on that latter note, Aaron Reichlin-Melnick of the American Immigration Council says that the Trump administration is seemingly going to use the Alien Enemies Act to bypass the Fourth Amendment altogether and just enter people's homes without warrants under the guise of pursuing members of Tren de Aragua. This is unironically Gestapo-like shit. And if you demand due process that you're entitled to as a resident, the administration is going to try to punish you for making that request. Because Melnick also points out that a doctoral student who is suing the Trump administration over his executive order targeting pro-Palestinian students is being asked to turn himself into ICE for deportation. So they are now retaliating against people seeking justice and asking for due process. But on top of that, they're also taking aim at attorneys fighting for justice. And I say that because, as the New York Times explains, Trump signed a new decree that lets the Department of Homeland Security sanction attorneys for filing what they call, quote, frivolous, unreasonable, and vexatious lawsuits against the federal government. And they are particularly taking aim at immigration attorneys under the pretense of, quote, preventing abuses of the legal system. In other words, it doesn't matter if you're an attorney or a judge. If you try to get in the way of their mass deportations, there will be hell to pay. You'll be sanctioned if you're an attorney, possibly impeached if you're a judge. At a minimum, you'll experience extreme harassment. And if need be, they'll just abolish federal courts if you don't let them do what they want to do. This is a full-blown assault on our entire legal system. And keep in mind, it's not just Donald Trump. He's not an aberration here. It's the entire Republican Party apparatus who is assisting him in his assault on the judiciary. Listen, our government, our entire system of governance has not faced a threat this significant since the Civil War. But unlike the Civil War, the good guys don't seem to be winning this time. The bad guys are winning. So pay close attention to this ongoing constitutional crisis, because the outcome of this battle in the courts will quite literally determine whether or not America will remain a democracy.
Yeah. What are we going to do? That's really the bottom line to all that, isn't it? What are we going to do? If the courts can't stop him, and he's going to ignore the courts, and the courts don't seem to want to enforce their rulings. I mean, like I said, the police would come after us for trying to avoid, doing something the court asks us to do. Like I had brought up that incident there that I saw on television where this woman had a restraining order on her and she wouldn't leave the house that she wasn't supposed to be in, and they had to arrest her. Okay. I mean, that's what you would do if a court, ruled on something and you weren't following that ruling. I mean, you'd get a visit. You're under arrest, okay? And because it's the president that's doing it, everybody is out there surrounding him, protecting him, deflecting any blame on him, okay? And it's sad, but this is one of the weaknesses of our system, is that, even the courts have to have some ability to have their authority defended. When the court speaks, it should matter. But they don't want to go after Trump. They don't want to go after the office because they're afraid of the precedent it would set. My friends, it's too late for precedents now, okay? Everything that we've done in the past means nothing now. It really is. I mean, the democracy that we thought we had is already gone, okay? It really is. Just the fact that these people, the immigrants, were taken to El Salvador in the manner in which they were is proof right there that, where their due process was denied. That's proof in itself right there that we've already lost our democracy, okay? So how are we going to get it back? It wasn't so easy to get it the first time, right? Okay? So let me pull up something here on my phone. Let me pause here. Okay, this article came out 3 days ago in the, what's the website? Local news, ABC, in New York State, okay? It's entitled, Ramos Lasher Unveiled Bridge and Recourse Act to Boost State Funding and Workforce. This is written by Johan Sheridan. Albany, New York. State Senator Jessica Ramos, currently running for mayor of New York City, and first-year Assembly member Mika Lasher unveiled two brand-new bills on Monday that target federal funding cuts and employment. The legislation announced by the pair of Democratic legislators at noon at the state capitol would protect New York's financial interests from budget blackmail, pointing out that federal agencies recently laid off tens of thousands of federal workers. Ramos and Lasher said that New York needs better tools to take care of its residents in case of further cuts. They said the Bridge Act and the Recourse Act represent those tools. Quote, let me be clear. New York does not bow to intimidation. We do not cower. We stand up and we organize. We defend what's ours, unquote, Ramos said. Quote, that's why today, along with Assemblyman Lasher, I'm introducing the Bridge Act and the Recourse Act in the New York State Senate. The Recourse Act, reciprocal enforcement of claims on unpaid and reduced state entitlements, would create a system for the state comptroller to report on the amount of money that the federal government owes New York, as determined by court rulings. If the report shows that the federal government withheld funds against court orders, the governor, comptroller, and budget director could withhold that amount from payments to the federal government. Their unanimous vote would trigger the commissioner of the State Department of Taxation and Finance to withhold matching funds, securing that money for the work of state agencies providing local services. The Bridge Act, building recruitment and incentives for dedicated government employees, would offer a pathway for fired former federal workers to join New York's state government workforce. The bill would give them up to 3 years of partial credit toward their potential state pension to sweeten the deal. Still, they'd have to pay in an amount calculated by multiplying their years of federal service by a percentage of their previous year's compensation. New York faces both a funding gap and a workforce shortage. The legislators said the bills, if passed, would attract new skilled talent to the state workforce and secure critical funding for schools, hospitals, and public transit. As cited by Ramos, State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli reported that in fiscal year 2022, New York collected $361.8 billion in federal taxes and received $383 million in federal spending. That represented a shift from the pre-COVID era, where New York traditionally supplied more money to the feds to make up financial shortfalls in other states. Ramos said the state now faces a shift back to subsidizing those other states since federal pandemic-related aid has cratered. Quote, we are here to stay, not in New York. It is not melodramatic, and it is not hyperbolic to say that this is the accelerating creep of fascism, and bending the knee is never a good strategy when dealing with fascists, unquote, Lasher said. Quote, blue states like New York have the power to protect our people, have the power to protect our state, unquote. So at least, there is, a state, individual states can, fight back in this manner, okay? You screw with us, we're not going to give you any federal money, period. And let Trump battle that out in court. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if the courts don't mean anything to Trump, then why go to court to fight this battle, right? So, like I said, there's a recourse. People have to be creative about it, okay? There's a way to, stymie up his fucking supposed dictatorial power. Okay, and people in every state, your state representatives and all, they're going to have to get creative in order to push back on Trump. They're going to have to. I mean, I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like the states are fixing to break away from the union. Okay, that just might be, and that would, and I can't say that we should stop trying to do that, but I'm saying if it helps the states to survive under this Trump regime, then maybe that's an option that we need to put on the table, okay? Because Trump is pushing us to it. So if it becomes necessary to secede, then what's he going to do to stop that? Really, he's going to do like what, Putin? March the military into the fucking state and blow the shit out of it? I mean, is that what how do you think that's going to look? How do you think that's going to help him out? That's going to create a riot in this country you've never seen at all, okay, if he takes that fucking step. So that's why I'm saying, if he wants to push, his fat ass in our face, then we can push back and make ourselves a big problem for him, all right? Because he's making a big problem for us. I mean, right now, it's like everybody doesn't know what to do. Well, there are some people that do know something or have an idea of what they can do. And like I said, Trump doesn't care about the courts, And so if he tries to take this action, take this, the state here, New York, to court over this, if those two bills should pass, I don't see how that's really going to matter to him, because like I said, hey, all of a sudden now you care about what the courts say, but before it's, you see what I'm saying? People are going to see the hypocrisy of it all. It's not going to look good for him. All right. And I just think that another thing is about these people that are being rounded up and sent to El Salvador. They need to have, what do you call it, a sanctuary area or something like that, where they can stay protected by the state against the federal government. Okay, I think that is a must at this point. I think everybody should start thinking about that. Every state should have some place to put these folks, so they can't be, illegally deported from this country, because it is illegal the way they're doing it. Without due process, it's illegal, okay? A cop that arrests you can't deny you your due process, all right? So even if you weren't an American citizen, you still are right to that due process, because that's how we do our things in this country. Everybody. Doesn't matter if you're from fucking Mars. If you come here on the American soil and you get caught up in a crime, you are right to a due process, because that's the way we function here, okay? We don't execute people, on a whim. We don't put people in prison on a whim. Well, we shouldn't be doing that, okay? So what Trump is doing is totally unconstitutional. It's totally illegal. So people need to understand that, and we need to be pressuring our courts to do things, take steps to fucking enforce those damn issues. All right? I don't care if they got to come up with a private police squad or some goddamn thing, but the courts have to be listened to. What point is the courts if they're not going to hold our highest officials accountable for their criminal actions? What's the point? I mean, at that, any lawyer can defend somebody and say, well, you guys aren't even doing anything to this fellow over here or that fellow, okay? So you set a precedent. We're just saying, hey, here's the precedent. You can get my client off, You see what I'm saying? It opens up a bigger can of worms than just protecting the president. When you cover his ass, then, now everybody else that commits crimes can have their ass covered too, because, hey, the president, that's going to be the constant excuse for every crime that's committed now in this country is the president, And I just hope that, people understand that, you might be huddled up in your homes right now and stuff, and you don't think anything's going to happen to you until it does. Until it does, okay? And, that's when it's too late to say anything or do anything. You should be out there with everybody who's protesting. You should be out there pushing your representatives to take steps to fight back. Okay, come up with ideas to deny Trump what he wants. That's what you got to do. Okay, and like I said, I think the first big step is to take anybody who is an illegal or something like that, and have, if whatever state they're in, or go to a state that has some sympathy for your plight, to basically be protected by the state. Okay, and let Trump figure out how he's going to handle that. All right, then he could fight that out in court too. I mean, because that's really what we're trying to do, is what the Democrats said they were going to do last year if Trump won, is that we'll keep him locked up in court battles all his presidency, and he'll never. Well, let's start doing that. Okay, let's keep everybody in his administration tied up in court here. Okay, so he can't really get anything done. That's what we got to do. Everything from what he eats for breakfast that morning, all the way down to the executive orders. Let's challenge everything. Okay, if you think you can get the military to do your bidding without fucking approval from the rest of the the rest of the system, okay, we're gonna have a problem with that. We'll go after the military. You see what I'm saying? There's so many different avenues that people can explore here, but they just don't want to do it because they're afraid of what it might mean. Well, people, if you're afraid of what it might mean, then you might as well just throw up the white flag. Honestly, If you're afraid of what it could mean, you got to throw up the white flag, because otherwise, you know, if you want your democracy back, it's going to require a lot of fighting. It's going to require a lot of fighting and a lot of creative thinking. And we can't do that if you're not going to be part of the solution. But if you want to be part of the problem, eventually that's going to last so long before you too become a victim. And then you're going to be one of those who want to be part of the solution. So, like I said, you know, don't wait. Don't fucking wait. You know, get active. Okay? So, anyway, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, and share. And keep your ears open for health-related issues. And, you know, you live in a community, be a part of it. Okay? Stop being afraid of each other out there, okay? Not everybody's a fucking criminal. All right? Don't be like that. Start doing things as a community, because, you know, we're going to need that right now more than ever. Nobody can be an individual and try to survive all this alone. It can't be done. We're going to need each other's backs here. So let's do that. Let's focus on that. All right, so I'll talk to you later. So take care, everybody.